What's up, everybody? It's Luigi
and Mario
here for Tortora and Alford. We're standing outside of the Dome on Halloween, and it was a little bit of Halloween Horror Nights inside for the Syracuse Orange. Unfortunately, they slipped to 0-5 in front of their hometown crowd. They're now 3-6 on the season with 3 games to go at Miami, at Notre Dame, and they will finish the season back here in the Dome on November 29th. They will face off against Boston College 2 days after Thanksgiving. Syracuse would have to run the table to be bowl eligible. Thoughts?
Hey, like you were saying, Halloween night, a little bit of trick or treat. You depend on which one you got tonight. You know, Syracuse played a good defensive team in North Carolina, coached by Coach Belichick. First half, the defense gave the team momentum, a spark to go in the half, 10-6. Just give North Carolina credit, came out in the second half, made some adjustments, like we talked about, it kept it pretty basic on the offense, ran the ball, and they got the upper hand in the second half there. Syracuse came out and tried some things on offense, it just didn't go their way.
Yeah, Bill Belichick in the NFL, known for being a second half guy, understanding what he needs to do. So, he goes in there, you give him 15 minutes, and he's like, all right, they're not seeing this, they're not seeing that. We can use this, we can exploit that. I mean, obviously he took advantage of it. They did what they needed to do. We saw Joe Filardi, the true freshman quarterback walk-on that started for Syracuse, first ever start in college football. Luke Carney came in for a very short spell in the third quarter, and then it was back to Filardi for the majority of the game. The lone touchdown scored by Syracuse was the first college touchdown ever scored by Syracuse linebacker Anwar Sparrow. And as I talked to Fran about Anwar after the game, he said, there was a journey for him. Went into the portal, came out of the portal, decided to come back with the team, didn't play in a game, maybe not liking that, and then obviously getting back, starting in this game, and coming up big with the 50-plus yard return for a touchdown as Syracuse loses this game against North Carolina 27-10. And really what it shows you folks is what NFL teams have experienced forever, and so have college football teams. When you don't have your starting quarterback, I don't know why people don't understand this. You lose your starting quarterback 99.9% of the time, your team looks drastically different. But it's not all about your quarterback. Like, Fran said after the game, some of it's on him, some of it's on the coordinators getting creative. It's about the receivers and other skill players saying, okay, well, if this is what this quarterback's doing and this is what's going on, we got to help him out. So It's about being creative with what you have instead of trying to force somebody to do something that maybe they don't typically do, to say, okay, what can this quarterback do? What can this team do? What are we doing well, or what do we need to change, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I think at this point, as I've said it over and over and over again, I think Syracuse needs to go to the RPO, lean on their run, and go back to what they used to be, which is ground and pound and tough defense.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that too. You got to find something more productive out of the run game. That'll take a little bit of pressure off the quarterback, young quarterbacks coming in trying to get their feet wet for the first time. So, like you said, they got to get creative, And Fran said it too in the press conference. There's a lot of young players that's playing, freshmen, sophomores.
18.
Yeah, just coming out on the field. They earn their time during the weekend practice. They're getting the opportunity to go out on the field. They just got to make the plays when the play comes to them, and that's basically how it goes.
Yeah, when you look at 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and he's talking about 18 true freshmen getting out there in some way, shape, or form. And like he said, losing 12 guys to the NFL, he's like, do you think I had 12 guys behind those 12 guys that went to the NFL? So, it's adversity. And as I talk to people about it off the air, the reality of it all is this. There's no one that's watching or listening to this video that hasn't understood that you go through the tough times to get to the good times. And Syracuse right now is going through a tough time to gain experience, gain some strength, gain some knowledge and wisdom through this adversity, and to grow from this. You cannot get up the mountain without having the adversity on the incline. And so people that think that Syracuse is going to jump from the valley to the top of the mountain, you got to climb it first. And I think people need to remember that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, first year they came in and they did some things, like you said, bringing in some transfers. And guys that went, like you say, on to the NFL, that was just a kind of a proving point of, hey, this is a system. Well, now, like Fran said, we're going to build it the right way, making sure it's consistent and sustainable over the future. So, the fans going to be upset. I understand that part, but like you said, adversity is going to build this team. And you look at. I was just thinking about when you was making that comment. Tony Elliott at Virginia, his first couple of years, they struggled. Adversity, they had tragic events that happened to that team, and now look at him this year. He kept believing in his standard and preaching what he was trying to get those guys to believe in, and they bought into it. And now look at the season they're having.
Yeah, wins are spelled Patience, patience. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, for Luigi
and Mario,
on Halloween, have yourselves a wonderful night. God bless, no stress, do your best. For Tortora
and Alford,
we'll talk with you all soon. Take care and be safe.